Hey guys, welcome to Battle VIP to the new called Sumerian Oracle featuring our Samurott V-STAR with Hisuian Braviary combo. We have our Merciless Blade hitting 20 damage for 2 darkness if our opponent's active Pokemon already has damage counters on it. So how do we place damage counters? We are playing Hawlucha, obviously, the new card from Scarlet Valley with the Flying Entry ability, allowing to place 1 damage counter on up to 2 of our opponent's bench Pokemon. With this ability, as you put it onto the bench, we also have our Painful Spoons to transfer up to 2 damage counter from any one of our opponent's Pokemon to another of their Pokemon. Playing our Mooncleave Star, we actually get to use the V-STAR ability to place 4 damage counter on one of their bench and then transfer 1 damage counter with Painful Spoons onto their active to play Merciless Blade early game for 20 damage. Knock in a basic V or EX like my Rhydon. Against a V-STAR or VMAX though, we have our Hisuian Braviary to do Eerie Cry, putting 3 damage counters on each of our opponent's Pokemon with damage counters on them. So if they already have damage counters on their bench, we actually get to spread with our Flying Entry. We get to place 3 damage counter on each of those Pokemons. And if they play, for example, 𝑬𝒄𝒂𝒓𝒄, we got extra knockouts on the bench while finishing off those V-STARs or VMAXs with our Eerie Cry. So we have also Painful Spoons to basically transfer from any Pokemon that have extra damage counters on them, like a Bibarel. If we can't knock out a Bibarel with Eerie Cry, obviously we're only playing 2 copies of Hisuian Braviary. We can only do a maximum of Eerie Cry twice, but we have our Team Yells here to shuffle back our Pokemon and supporter cards. But if we only get to play it twice, we have to be very careful using this Pokemon because we are not able to knock out a Bibarel, obviously, or any other Pokemon with more than 70 HP on their bench. So with that, we actually get to transfer though with our Painful Spoons onto their V-STAR or VMAX to collect extra prizes, finishing off the knockout after doing Merciless Blade, just because this attack is actually not enough. 20 damage is not enough, obviously, to knock out a V-STAR with 1 hit. So to satisfy the attack cost, we have our Raihan and Experience Share, playing 2 cups of Arven to search for the tool card as well, allowing us to attack every single turn non-stop with Merciless Blade hitting 20 damage over and over. If we have not enough energies though, if we don't get the Raihan at the right time, we actually get to play Braviary first while attaching 1 energy onto the bench Hawlucha or even Samurott V before doing the Thorton. We have 1 copy of Thorton as well on the Hawlucha, evolving on the next turn into a V-STAR to play Merciless Blade by, playing this 0 energy attack cost card. So 0 energy attack cost means we get to attach 1 energy onto the bench while attacking with Braviary, preparing for our next attacker if we don't get the Raihan. For the draw support, we're playing 2 Bibarel, 1 Serena to draw cards or to do the boss effect, 2 Arven to search for our tool cards, and also 1 item. We can search for Ultra Ball to evolve the Bibarel, or Capturing Aroma to get our Hawlucha. If we flip a Tails, if we get a Heads, we have to get an Evolution though, but we need a lot of Evolutions for this deck. We need our V-STAR and also Bibarel. We need to evolve the Braviary. Braviary can actually give you early knockouts against a Lost Box, against a Gardevoir EX deck. We can actually do a knockout against Mew, the basic Mew from Celebrations, or even Ralts before they actually evolve into the Curlier or Gardevoir. We got easy knockouts early game with Eerie Cry and also our V-STAR ability to finish off at least 1 copy, 1 prize card with damage counters, and then play our Hawlucha for Merciless Blade later on in the game. Next, we have our regular setup cards, 4 VIP Pass, 3 Nest Ball, 2 Hisuian Heavy Ball to get our basics, and also 2 Great Ball, 4 Ultra Ball, 1 Jacq, and 1 Capturing Aroma to get our evolutions. We also are playing 2 Energy Search with 2 Arven to search for our energies, 1 Thorton, 1 Boss, 2 Raihan with 1 Team Yells here to shuffle back our supporter and also Pokemons, 1 Serena to draw cards as well, 2 Escape Rope for the switch, 1 Gapejaw to get extra damage counters into the game, 1 Temple of Sinnoh against Lugia V-STAR and Mew VMAX with 9 basic Darkness Energy. So that's all for the deck list. Now let's go for some gameplay and see how well this deck works. Okay, let's go for our first game versus Gardevoir EX. A very annoying meta deck right now. So we have Samurott, which is a dark type Pokemon, and we are hitting the weakness against not just Gardevoir but also Mew VMAX. So we're playing kind of a really good counter deck for the meta. An anti-meta, new, not really a new V-STAR, it's an old V-STAR from Astro Radiance, but it is kind of a Hisuian combo though, right? It's a kind of a nice combo because we're playing both Hisuian Pokemons, 1 V-STAR, while the other is a regular 1 prize. So being a 1 prize is actually pretty cool because we get to finish off any Pokemon that got damaged on the last turn and set up for the next knockout as well. So if we do Merciless Blade for our first strike, we can actually play Eerie Cry on the second turn, for the next attack, for our second attack. And then for our third attack, we can actually do Merciless Blade again with the second Samurott V-STAR to finish off a second V-STAR or a second VMAX. Obviously, VMAX is going to need a lot more though. Even with Painful Spoons, you're going to need a couple extra turns to transfer to move around those damage counters, plus another Braviary to place extra damage counters with Eerie Cry, because 3 damage counters is obviously not enough to kill off a VMAX. You need like double Eerie Cry with a couple turns of moving those damage counters. So we got our Bidoof. We got quite a terrible start. Not bad though, because we got, all we need is 1 Bidoof and 1 Samurott, right? So we have Braviary in our hand already, and I feel like we should really be targeting the Ralts. If they bench 2 Ralts, obviously we can't kill both on the first turn, but we at least get to put extra damage counters in the game. They got Cresselia though. You got to be extra careful against Cresselia. So if they are playing the Moonlight Glow, I forgot, Moonglow Reverse, that's the attack. So if they have that attack, they actually get to recover 2 damage counter from each of their Psychic Pokemon, while also basically transferring those damage counters onto one of your Pokemon. So they get to do up to 12 damage counter placement on one of your Pokemon, while also healing 20 on each of their Pokemon. So be very careful with that card. You don't actually get to play Braviary that often, especially not for knockout. If you are doing Eerie Cry, don't expect to play it for knockout, right? Unless if they have a lot of damage counters already on that Pokemon, and if they haven't got their heal cards yet, you can obviously play Painful Spoons and Eerie Cry for an extra free knockout. But you do have to be extra careful though, because they have heal cards, they have Picnic Basket, they have, what's it called again? Emergency Jelly, they got Moonglow Reverse. So if you got early knockout with your Mooncleave Star though against the Ralts, that would be really, really good, because I don't think they can bench that many Ralts on the first turn, right? If they got 3 Ralts in play on the first turn, that would be a solid Gardevoir deck. If they got 3 in play, at least we take out 1 Ralts, and that's going to take out one of their Draw Engine. It's going to take out one of their Gardevoir, and they're going to have to play another Level Ball for another Ralts to bench another one, just in case the next one gets knocked out. They have to prepare another Ralts, and that means they may not be able to get the Kirlia to draw as many cards. They would probably get the Fog Crystal though. Fog Crystal for the Ralts is quite easy. But taking out the Ralts early game is a big plus. We can, for example, play Mooncleave Star for 4 damage counter, play a Hawlucha as well, and then, use Eerie Cry to knock out 1 Ralts and have 4 damage counter on 2 of the other. And that means on the next turn, we can quite easily play Eerie Cry again to kill off the Ralts, the second, the Kirlia, possibly. One of the Kirlias at least, right? If they choose not to, they obviously can't do double rare candy. So whichever one they have as a Kirlia, we can transfer the damage counter with Painful Spoons onto the Kirlia and essentially do Eerie Cry again for the second Kirlia knockout. Obviously, they would be able to attack already with Zacian or something. Probably with the Cresselia, because it's a 1 energy attacker, basic. They would probably be attacking with Cresselia already. Transferring while, placing damage counters on your Braviary while also healing their Pokemon, so you do have to be careful about that. I repeated that fact like the 3rd time already, I'm sorry about that, but, it's just my style of narration. I sometimes forget and just keep on, I get flustered, and when I fluster, I just repeat the same fact. I'm sorry about that. So here comes Alakazam, and we're actually gonna play the Gapejaw, knowing they have a Cresselia. So one of the previous game against Gardevoir, which I didn't get, which obviously I'm not gonna show for this game, for this video, I made a really stupid mistake of playing the Gapejaw, knowing that they have a Cresselia in the active. So having the Cresselia doing Moonglow Reverse to directly counter the Gapejaw not only gives them free damage, but also recovers, basically reverses the Gapejaw's effect. So we can't actually play Eerie Cry as often as we like to hit as many of their Pokemons as we like, just because after healing they would essentially have no more damage counters on that Pokemon. If they switch right now, they can Moonglow Reverse and have 0 damage counters on the Ralts on the next turn, and that means Braviary is not going to be able to do any damage without Hawlucha. So fingers crossed they don't get the switch card. They may just do Roar of the Sword, preparing the Zacian. So they definitely need to bench another Ralts, because we're going to take out this one if they don't do the reverse. If they don't Moonglow right now, or bench the second Ralts, they're done for. We did Mooncleave Star for our first Ralts knockout, because they have no... If they had a second Ralts, I don't think we would be doing that. Because it's quite risky to play a V-Star power that early. I'm not sure though. I feel like it should be safe for us to do that, because we got Hawlucha. We got Hawlucha and Alakazam to basically transfer the damage counter onto the active for the knockout. So I don't think we need the V-Star power as much. We got Team Yell's Cheer with Thorton. We're going to need a couple turns though before we can play the next Hawlucha. Right? We're going to need to play the Thorton. So for our second Hawlucha, we got 2 heavy balls, obviously. But for our third one, we need to play the Thorton and then on the next turn, play the Team Yell's Cheer to shuffle back the, Hawlucha into the deck. And if we get, a ball, Capturing Aroma or an Ultra Ball in our hand to summon the Hawlucha into our hand on the same turn. If we get an Arven as well, you can basically search the deck for the Hawlucha back and then bench it again right after shuffling it back with our Team Yell's Cheer. So essentially we need 2 turns to play our third, right after, benching the Hawlucha. We need 2 more turns to be able to play the third one. Flying entry. But obviously you need to play the Thorton and then Team Yell's Cheer consecutively, and we only have 1 copy of each of those cards, so it's not easy to play those cards actually. So you do have to be very careful. Like if you choose to play the Mooncleave Star to do, a 1 price knockout, you have to be certain that you can get your Hawlucha in time, that you can, finish off the game by playing only 2 copies. Because after that, we got not enough damage counters in the game. How are we going to play Merciless Blade for extra damage? How are we going to play it for 220 damage by having damage counters on their Pokemon before attacking? We got to calculate properly, right? It's all about strategy. You got to plan things right. You got to be very careful with every decision that you make. Even from the very start, you can't just, decide things without thinking it through. Against a Gardevoir deck, I feel like the advantage is there though. I feel like if you take out any one of their Ralts, they would probably have only 2 copies though, early game. They may just bench a third one because, against like Miraidon, they can quite easily do a boss. I feel like Miraidon needs research though. So if they just conceded because we knocked out the second Ralts. So if they do a boss, like a Mew VMAX deck, if they do a boss, they can quite easily kill off the first Ralts and leaving them with only 1 Kirlia on the next turn. So I feel like a Gardevoir EX deck needs to bench 3 Ralts on the first turn. They can't go without that. And if they bench 3 Ralts, even if we take out only 1, they got 2 Kirlias left on the next turn, and they need to bench another one. We are at least slowing them down a little bit for us to get our system running, to get the right cards, to get experience share out, to be able to, do a boss at the right time. If we slow them down, we can quite easily play a boss at the right time to kill off the Gardevoir EX. Removing the ability from play is going to count a lot because that means they can't use Psychic Embrace for Zacian to collect extra prize with the Sky Seal Stone at the right time. They still have Shining Arcana, but that's not obviously going to help out a lot with the energies. So they're going to need to play Clara or Miriam to shuffle back or retrieve the Gardevoir EX, evolve another one. It's going to be quite difficult to play the Psychic Embrace at the right time again. If we can do that perfect boss to kill off the Gardevoir EX, that would be perfect. That would seal the deal. So now we're up against an Arcanine EX deck with Armarouge. So Armarouge adding the hyper consistency to an Arcanine EX deck, helping it do 250 damage every single turn with Magma Basin and Experience Share. So it's a very, very consistent deck. It's quite easy. Okay, so we got VIP on the first turn. We're playing 2 Arven, so if we go second with an Arven in our hand, we can quite easily get the VIP to bench 2 Pokemons on the first turn. So this deck is quite consistent as well. It's quite easy for us to evolve fast, play our V-Star attack, play our Merciless Blade early game for big damage, while also placing damage counter with Hawlucha. We got a lot of ways to search for the Hawlucha into our hand, because we actually need to bench it from our hand to be able to use the ability. If we don't get Hawlucha at the right time, we still have the V-Star power to place the damage counter to do early damage, right? We got Mooncleave Star to play 4 damage counters on any one of their Pokemon, and we actually get to transfer one at a time with Alakazam, slowly killing off their active Pokemon one by one with Boss until we get our Hawlucha. So if we play Mooncleave Star for 4 damage counters on the bench, we can transfer one into the active, over and over until they have like 1 damage counter remaining on that bench Pokemon, leaving it, setting it up, preparing it for the knockout later on in the game, by doing a boss, obviously. We can even play Mooncleave Star Painful Spoon to support Braviary, so we can switch the strategy. We can flip into a main Braviary deck. If they do a 1 price low HP deck like a Spiritomb deck, a Ditto deck, or something like that, we can actually play Braviary to spread the damage using Eerie Cry for multi-price knockout. We got Hawlucha to spread the damage counters, and also Mooncleave Star with Painful Spoons, helping us spread up to, 1 damage counter on 4 of their Pokemons in a single turn, doing 12 damage counter placement with Eerie Cry for the first strike. And then we actually get to transfer again with our on the next turn with another Painful Spoons, and possibly play another Hawlucha, spreading damage even more with the next Braviary. So that's the main strategy to go against a 1 price deck. Not many 1 price deck right now though, except Lost Box. And Lost Box has got the Switch card, so we gotta be careful of that. Switch card is recovering 30 damage from their active Pokemon while doing the Switch effect for Comfy. So I don't think against a Lost Box this deck is that great, but it has potential. We won against Lost Box a couple times, but we don't really have the edge against the Lost Box because they are doing 110 damage with Cramorant early game, and then they can collect the knockout with Sableye. They even have Snorlax to do big damage now. I've seen decks that play Galarian Moltres to finish off the V-Star at the last second. It's only doing 270 damage though, if your opponent has drawn 5 prizes. But if they play a Choice Belt or Defiance Band, eventually they would be able to do a 2 prize at the last minute for the win. So it's actually quite easy. I don't like decks like that where you don't have to try to succeed. If you're not trying, if you're not challenging yourself, why play the game, right? Why play the game? Here comes the Entei. They got an Entei for the draw sport with Bibarel as well. But Arcanine is definitely going to kill off the Bibarel right now. They actually have a choice though. If they got the Choice Belt, they can quite easily do a boss on the Samurott and finish it off. But no boss, thank God. No boss, no Choice Belt. We're safe. But we got no Bibarel. That's quite a terrible thing, isn't it? We got no Bibarel for the next turn. No more Bibarel as well for a couple turns after that, because I'm pretty sure the second Bidoof got prized. And we're gonna need our next Samurott though, at some point. I'm not sure how we're gonna kill off. They got Magma Basin though, helping us finish off the active, drawing 2 prize. At least we're drawing some cards from the prize card. So we get to transfer with Painful Spoons into the active with our Alakazam, and Mooncleave Star gives us the free knockout on the Arcanine. So that's a total of 6 damage counters with the ability and also the V-Star power. And we got also 220 damage to to top off for just enough damage to kill off the EX for 2 prize. We got Jacq, but that's not gonna help us. We don't need evolutions right now. We need basics. We need Raihan at some point after benching the next Samurott. If we bench another one though, they're probably gonna do a boss. But if they play a boss to knock out the bench, we at least get to attack with the active V-Star a couple more times. Basically buying ourselves a couple extra turns before we get the Thorton experience share or Hawlucha, stuff like that, or another Braviary. So Braviary could be helping us for this game because we're actually not doing a knockout against the next Arcanine. So the second one is going to be a bit more difficult because now we got not enough damage counters for the EX knockout. Because we just transferred so much onto the active right now. If they keep playing the basin though, they would be helping us. So we have the boss in our hand right now to basically finish off one of the bench with Merciless Blade using Alakazam. We can quite easily target the Entei if we got Painful Spoons. They actually played a boss this turn though. They actually did the boss on the Alakazam. So that means on the next turn we got no more Painful Spoons and we actually have to play the boss to kill off one of their Pokemons with damage counters, right? If they play the basin right now, it would be quite stupid. But they actually did that. They have no choice though, because otherwise they would have not enough damage. They would have not enough energies to do big damage with Arcanine. They actually have to play the basin every single turn. At least on the Armor Rouge, right? They should have done it on the Armor Rouge, but oh, they don't have they have the Charcadet. They haven't got the evolution yet. That's the reason they don't play the basin on the Charcadet. They could have done it, like they don't need it right now. I'm not sure why, because they did the boss. Entei is surviving. I'm not sure why they did that. We could quite easily do Escape Rope, Hawlucha, and boss in a single turn to wipe out the Entei. I guess they're afraid of that. But they should definitely be doing the basin on the Charcadet. Because we got no more Alakazam, they can quite easily transfer the energy with Armor Rouge's ability later on. You know, grouping, like, collecting the damage counter on the Armor Rouge is a lot smarter. Because that would mean we need to somehow revive the Alakazam if we want to do an EX knockout. But we got Hawlucha in our hand anyways, right? We don't really need to worry too much. We got Hawlucha. It's going to help us though. That basin damage counter is going to help us top off for the knockout. Because we actually need 6 more damage counters. Well, we need 5 more damage counters after the Hawlucha. And we got no more Alakazam to transfer. We got Braviary to place 3 more. But we actually need 2 more damage counters after that. And if they play the basin, that exact 2 damage counter would be perfectly what we need to finish off the EX. The next 2 EX. Otherwise, we would need, like, the Thorton to revive Alakazam. And we got no cards in our hand right now. There's no chance we're going to get the Thorton that easily. So it's going to be a lot more difficult. So here comes a second Hawlucha. We actually played Flying Entry twice in a row. We should definitely have targeted both the Arcanines. I'm not sure why we spreaded the energies onto 5 Pokemons. Because we don't have Alakazam anymore to transfer the damage counters. If you can't move the damage counters with Painful Spoons, if you have no access to the ability anymore, you should be targeting, you know, specific Pokemon to draw the final remaining prizes. You shouldn't be getting as much damage counters in a game with your Eerie Cry. You should be hitting the right Pokemon with as much damage counters with your Hisuian Braviary. That would be the way to go. Okay, here comes the Clara. They're going to retrieve probably the Armor Rouge. I think they discarded it with the research. I'm not sure what they're going to retrieve right now. The Arcanine, right? Definitely. They have to evolve fast. Because if they don't, the Growlithe is going to get knocked out. We have no second Braviary though. We can't actually finish off the Growlithe that easily. That's 80 HP anyways. I think 90 HP. I'm not actually too sure. Growlithe is actually a lot more tanky. An unusual 1-price Pokemon, 1-price basic. With a little extra HP. Okay, they got a lot of energies on the Arcanine now, preparing for the V-Star knockout with Bright Flame. So it's doing only 250 damage though. They need the Defiance Band, they need something. Defiance Band is not going to help them, I don't think. Because I'm pretty sure they can draw prizes a lot faster than we are. And both players actually has the same prizes right now. So Defiance Band only works obviously if you have more prize cards remaining than your opponent. And they got no Rapidash to finish off the V-Star with one hit. So they're definitely not going to be able to pull off a one-hit knockout on our V-Star. They need a couple turns. They need 2 hits just to kill off our Samurott for 2 prize. And there's just no, like, I feel like there's just no point playing Arcanine for 250 damage if you're not doing a knockout. Against Miraidon decks though, is pretty useful, but against any V-Star deck, any EX decks, I'm not too sure, because there are actually basic and stage 1 EXs with 250 or less HP, like Great Tusk, Iron Threads. Pretty sure those are less than 250, right? Great Tusk is quite terrible though, because it's actually doing 50 damage to itself. Even with the Rock Chest Plate, you know, damaging itself is gonna count as well for the damage. So I'm not sure what's gonna happen. I don't think it's a good Pokemon, honestly. It's doing 250 damage as well for 3 fighting. It's kind of the same as Arcanine. I'm not sure why so many Pokemon is doing 250. Because you still need the Choice Belt to finish off V-Stars. If you're playing Choice Belt for your deck, you gotta watch out against Stage 1 EXs. Because Stage 1 EX has 260 HP now. You know, the equivalent for a V-Star, about 260 or more. Like Oinkoloon has 260, Speedops has 260. So we built an Arcanine EX deck on one of our previous videos. If you guys want to check it out, we did Simisear V-Star with Arcanine. We even have Rapidash for the extra damage, which Rapidash is a lot better than those tool cards because it actually helps you do 30 more damage regardless of how many prizes you have, regardless of if they are V card on their active. You actually get to hit 30 more damage with any of your fire Pokemon as well. So not many conditions, right? All you need to do is discard a fire from your hand, obviously. If you play 2 Rapidash, if you have 2 copies in play, you actually get to discard 2 fire from your hand. While satisfying the attack cost with Raihan Experience Share, you got 60 extra damage in a single turn. 60 extra damage is enough to kill off a VMAX, possibly. I'm not sure. Against Regieleki VMAX, Mew VMAX, not against any other VMAX. Mew VMAX could play Oricorio though. I'm not sure why Mew VMAX decks now don't play Oricorio. For the extra consistency and anti-meta cards, I guess. They got Lost City, they got Lost Vacuum, they got a lot more, you know, counter meta cards. And that's the reason they choose not to add in the Oricorio, but it's actually a pretty good effect though. It's a really good ability because it reduces 20 damage down to your Mew. If they play against a dark type deck, I guess, like if they, you know, if your opponent has a Drapion, they have a good counter against Drapion now. Like, Mew VMAX decks now actually can choose not to bench the Genesect. They're choosing only to bench one Genesect early game, even if they have the VIP Pass, even if they have the Fog Crystal, the means to bench enough, you know, to get a full bench on the first turn. They actually are choosing not to do that right now, because, you know, they can actually have less Pokemons in play to force Drapion to attach more energies with the ability. Because obviously they can't deal with the ability with Path. If they play Path to the Peak, they can't draw cards with Genesect. So the only way is to bench not that many cards. If they don't bench that many Genesects, they get to draw at least 1 or 2 cards into their hand, while also attacking with the Mew VMAX. So all they need is 2 Genesects on the bench. Well, it's actually better to have only 1 though, because you may need a second Mew. It's quite difficult, honestly, because Drapion just needs 1 energy. If you have 3 fusion type Pokemon in play, Drapion just needs 1 energy from their hand to satisfy the attack costs with its ability. Drapion is quite interesting though. I'm not actually sure if it works with Deoxys 3 ways, because Deoxys is considered a fusion, single, and rapid strike. So if your opponent has a Deoxys, does it mean that if they have 1 Deoxys, does that mean Drapion has 3 colorless less attack costs? I'm not sure. That's interesting. Does anyone know? Pop quiz, right? So here comes the Heatran. Okay, now both players have very few prize cards left. We just need 1 last knockout. They have 2 prize remaining. They just need to deal with the V-Star. Can they actually do it? So they got Radiant Heatran to basically do a 1-hit knockout against any Pokemon. But the problem is, Radiant Heatran needs damage counters on it. They got Armor Rouge to satisfy the attack cost, but what about the damage condition? They don't have damage pump. That's the problem with Radiant Heatran. You not only need Armarouge, you need the damage pump. If you play Zoroark, I feel like Hisuian Zoroark with Radiant, with the damage pump and Armarouge is not really that smart. If you're playing Radiant Heatran as well, I feel like you should be playing Charizard because you need the damage pump to basically spread the damage for Zoroark to do enough damage. I feel like if you play Heatran with Zoroark, you won't be able to play the damage pump for your Heatran at the final stage of the game just because you would have used it up for Zoroark to do enough damage with its attack. I'm not actually sure what its attack is. I should be familiar with it by now, but it appears that we're actually trying to concede right now. Okay. Because you never know if they have that damage pump in their hand. All they need is just one copy, right? If they have that one item, we're done for. They just need 4 damage counters on the Heatran with the Basin. They have already a couple damage counters on the Arcanine. Quite a lot of damage counters on it as well, just all thanks to Braviary. And we actually spread the damage with our Hawlucha as well. I think they have damage counters on all of their Pokemon. I can't really see the screen right now. Sorry, my eyesight is quite bad. I'm actually looking at the screen in a minimized version, so I'm not actually, I can't really see the damage counters. But they have a lot of damage counters to basically transfer with the damage pump. So all they need is that one item to basically finish off our V-Star with 280 damage using that Radiant attack. But they didn't get the item. They could quite easily search for it with Arven, but apparently they're not playing that card in their deck, I don't think, because they don't have the foresight. You could actually bench the Heatran early. If they bench it on the last turn, if they had the foresight to bench it early, they could actually do Basin twice to get enough energy and also enough damage counters for them to do a one-hit knockout against our Samurott. At some point in the game, we would actually play a boss though on the Heatran because we wouldn't know what they're up to. So that's the reason they bench it late, possibly. But I feel like the main reason is probably because they want to play Arcanine as their main attacker. They actually benched 2 Growlithe early game. They got a full bench. So Radiant Heatran with Armarouge is definitely very interesting because you actually get to play Thorton as well on one of our bench basic fire Pokemon. After doing the Basin enough times, you got enough damage counters on Moltres, for example. They wouldn't be expecting a Moltres to do enough damage. So if you concentrate those energies on the Moltres, they would probably not do a boss on it, and you can actually play a Thorton at the last minute into a Radiant Heatran, collecting not just enough energies with the Basin, but also enough damage counters for you to do a one-hit knockout. So it's quite a simple fix for Radiant Heatran deck. Just add a couple of Thorntons and you're fine. So now we're up against a Lost Box with our Braviary in the active, which is Swell. We got Gapejaw early as well. Look at that. What are the odds? They could just play a Beach Court though, you never know. If they do a Beach Court, we don't actually have the damage counters, and we actually have a lot of basic summons. We got Nest Ball now instead of Quick Ball, so Gapejaw is actually obsolete, all thanks to Nest Ball VIP. We got so many ways to search the deck and directly put it onto the bench directly. You don't have to put it from your hand now, and that means Gapejaw is not really that effective anymore. We got Heavy Ball still forcing them to put it from their hand onto the bench, and also Ultra Ball as well, I guess, for the basic. Capturing Aroma, we got Fury Sword Girl directly benching it from the deck, so basically bypassing the Stadium effect. So let's see how many damage counters we can get. How many Pokemons with damage counters can we get in a single turn with that Gapejaw? If we got just one, we can use Painful Spoons with Alakazam to basically, get 4 Pokemons in a row with damage counters using Hawlucha. But I don't think we should be playing Hawlucha that early though. Oh, they switched to the active. So the one with the damage counters is in the active now. So we actually get to play the Hawlucha for full damage counters. Now we just need the switch. Can we play the switch? We got Arven and Ultra Ball. So we actually get to play Eerie Cry right now. But we're forced to basically... we should be playing the Bibarel though. I don't think we should be evolving the Braviary and getting the Escape Rope with Arven. That would allow us the damage counter. But we wouldn't be able to draw cards after that. We would be left with nothing but one... we could actually discard the energy though. Okay, we are retreating. Okay, we're retreating. And that means we actually get to play Arven for another Ultra Ball. we're actually gonna do Industrious Incisor first. We're gonna draw cards first and then play the Ultra Ball. We even got the Alakazam and the Samurott. Unfortunately, we attached the energy already, so we can't attach it anymore for the retreat cost. So now we're gonna do Arven for the Ultra Ball, helping us evolve the Braviary, getting our first damage counter in the game. So we got 4 damage counters on both the Cramorant and on both their Pokemons on the bench, and also 5 damage counters on their active Comfey, which is great. All we need is one more strike with Eerie Cry to draw 3 prize cards in a single turn, in 2 turns actually, if they don't heal their Pokemon with Switch card. So they got Arven to search for the Switch card, but they're probably going to have to play Colress's Experiment. If they don't get the Switch card, they won't be able to save themselves from the 3 prize, from losing 3 prizes on the next turn, because there's no more Scuba Net. There is still Penny though, but I don't think they should be playing Penny for a Lost Box. It doesn't make sense. Maybe 1 or 2 copy, but if you play even just 1 copy, you may just get it early game instead of the Colress, and that means less cards in the Lost Zone, which is gonna, you know, slow you down a lot. Anyways, let's see what they're gonna do. Are they gonna play the Cramorant? Is actually not doing enough damage for the knockout though. So that's the funny thing about Lost Box, is that it's actually a slow start. But they got Radiant Greninja though. We gotta watch out for that. If they play Radiant Greninja, they got a double knockout at some point in the game by killing off not just the Hawlucha with Moonlight Shuriken, but also the Braviary. They're probably gonna leave the damage counters though, right? If they play Lost Mine at the last minute, they got extra knockouts, extra prizes. If they leave those damage counters in the game, it's obviously very risky though, because your opponent could easily just heal their cards. If they heal their Pokemon or even do a Penny or Volo, it's still in the game though. Volo is still in the game, but nobody's playing it. If they play those cards, you know, they would actually be able to erase, or even Cheryl, they could actually remove all of those damage counters from play, and they have to start from scratch. So Lost Box is not perfect. They can't really win against a heal deck. It really depends though what type of Lost Box you're playing. You could actually have Zamazenta doing 220 damage with Mirage Gate after your opponent did a knockout on their last turn. You could actually play Galarian Moltres doing big knockouts, as we said, you know, at the last minute. You could play Snorlax, as you see right now. They're playing Snorlax for 180 damage with Mirage Gate while preventing all effects done by your opponent's Pokemon. So we actually can't play Eerie Cry to place any damage counters on the Snorlax, just because effects of attacks has no effect on the Snorlax because of its ability. So we got Bibarel for the draw system. We got Raihan as well. We should be fine for this game. We just need to finish off the Comfey, because they didn't get the Switch card on the last turn, and I feel like we got 2 knockouts this turn. Are we gonna transfer the damage counters though? How many should we transfer? So we got 4 damage counters on the Cramorant right now. Okay, we are actually choosing to transfer from the Snorlax, because we know we're not doing any damage counters with Eerie Cry on the Snorlax. Might as well just transfer from the Snorlax to the Cramorant, because we actually need 1 extra damage counter. Just nice to knock out the Cramorant while setting up the Snorlax to finish for the knockout, right? Because we actually need the damage counters on the Snorlax to be able to hit extra damage with Merciless Blade. 110 damage is actually not enough to kill off the Snorlax, unfortunately. So we still need that 1 damage counters on the Snorlax. But if we do another Eerie Cry, if we get the next Braviary on the next turn, we can actually knock out the Cramorant while getting extra damage counters to transfer more with Alakazam later on in the game. So that's the plus side for, you know, damage counter. You get to, is quite fun because you get to ignore Manaphy's ability. You also get a nice amount of spread damage in the game, and it's always nice to see spread damage, isn't it? Everyone loves a good spread deck. This is not really a proper spread deck though, I wouldn't say, because we are doing big damage as well with Samurott. Against a one price deck, I feel like we still need the V-Star. We still need to attack with the V-Star at some point in the game to collect those prizes while tanking damage. If we can't tank, if they can do a one-hit knockout, if they can straight off kill kill our V-Star with one hit, is still actually necessary, because I don't think we have that many Braviaries to be able to use Eerie Cry that many times. We got only one Team Yell's Cheer to shuffle back up to 3 in any combination of Pokemon and supporters from the discard pile, and we've got only 2 copies of our Hisuian Braviary and Rufflet, so I don't think we can pull off Eerie Cry that many times. We have obviously Mooncleave Star as well against one price deck, so don't ignore your V-Star power. It's very, very useful at the right time. So evolving fast is always top priority for any V-Star decks, because you get to use the V-Star power instantly. Using it that early though could be a bad thing, so sometimes it's wiser to save your V-Star power for later in the game. If you get a Hawlucha with your Capturing Aroma or Ultra Ball, if you have access to Hawlucha with Great Ball as well, make sure you use it. Make sure you get the Hawlucha into your hand and play it early. If you play it early, you actually get to save your V-Star power for a rainy day, right? You never know when you're going to need it. You never know when's the right time to use it, honestly. Sometimes it's just better to save it. Sometimes it's better to play it fast. It really depends. Depends on the matchup, it depends on the type of V-Star you're playing, depends on like what Pokemons are in play. There are so many factors for this game, but I feel like it's a lot more rigid than most people think. Like, this game is like so set in stone. We got Gardevoir EX with Zacian, Mewtwo V Union. It's very, very standard, boring ass decks. We got Miraidon with Electric Generator, Regieleki VMAX, Miraidon with Magnezone V-Star, Miraidon with any fucking electric Pokemons. I mean, this game is getting a lot more boring than you think. So the Lost Box just conceded, because they got 5 cards remaining and we just need to do 2 more knockouts. Samurott is actually weak towards Grass type though, so I don't think there's any Grass Pokemons that Lost Box are using, except maybe Giratina V-Star to kill off the Samurott with one hit. Giratina is obviously not a Grass type Pokemon, but it can actually do enough damage to kill off our Samurott. But I don't think any one price Pokemons can actually do the trick, because they need a Grass type. They can actually choose to play Moltres though, but Moltres is not actually doing a knockout until the very last minute. So they got 5 price remaining. At some point they can play Fiery Wrath for a V-Star knockout, but that's the last hit though. That's obviously the last hit. But if they get like the Dragonite V with Mirage Gate, they can quite easily do 250 damage for an easy knockout with Choice Belt. So Lost Box has a lot of options because they got Mirage Gate. That's probably the biggest advantage, right? Searching for any 2 different energies and attaching to any of your Pokemon. That's crazy. But you only get to fit in 4 copies though, and you can't really play an evolution for a Lost Box, can you? The consistency doesn't really work. So I think I'm just going to end the voiceover right here and leave you guys to focus on the game. Go for silent gameplay. It's actually going to help you guys focus more and, you know, experience the game in a different way. So we're going to amp up the music and hope you guys enjoyed this one. So we are featuring our Hisuian Samurott V-Star with Hisuian Braviary combo, placing damage counter with Eerie Cry while also doing big damage with Merciless Blade. Switching the strategy against a 1 price into Braviary for the damage counter and using Samurott for big damage as well. We also have our V-Star power Mooncleave Star to place 4 damage counter on any one of our opponent's Pokemon, using Alakazam to transfer damage counter and Hawlucha to spread even more damage, setting up for Braviary to spread damage with its Eerie Cry attack, and also setting up for Samurott to do extra damage with its Merciless Blade for big knockouts. So that's all for this video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. We'll see you next time. Have a great day and bye from the people. Enjoy life.